I do want to talk about a decision that the Diamondbacks made yesterday, which was honestly very controversial, about the angriest that I've seen Diamondbacks fans all season long, frankly. The D-backs sent down Dominic Fletcher, a player who, as of the time of being sent down, had a batting average over 300, had an OPS over 800, and the Diamondbacks opted to bring up Jake McCarthy. I don't think people were at all angry about bringing up Jake McCarthy. They all want to see him back in the big leagues, but there was sort of this odd feeling with sending down Dominic Fletcher, a guy who had a historic start to his big league career with the Diamondbacks, but has faded a little bit over the last couple of weeks. We do have some numbers for you that I think sort of help explain where the D-backs are maybe coming from. In his last 4 games down in Triple-A Reno, Jake McCarthy went 12 for 19 with a couple of home runs. That's one way to earn yourself a promotion.
Is that good?
12 hits over 4 games. Obviously, the PCL is a hitter-friendly environment, but Jake has had a really nice approach down there, about his, I think it's an equal number of walks and strikeouts. On the flip side, Dominic Fletcher, Danielle, in his last 10 games with the D-backs, went 6 for 39 with 11 strikeouts, only 2 extra base hits. So you can just kind of see how things sort of turned in Jake McCarthy's favor there. We didn't necessarily know if Dominic Fletcher's fast start would be sustainable, if it was just going to be, a really fun few days and maybe, pitchers would adapt to him a little bit. And that's kind of what it seems like happened when it was all said and done.
Yeah, and I think this is definitely one that the numbers don't tell the full story. You look at Dom Fletcher's numbers, and they're pretty crazy, but it's pretty front loaded, right? His first couple games were historic, like you said.
Yeah.
And this to me feels like an eye test thing, where you look at his last, 5, 6, 7 games, and he really looked overmatched.
Yeah, he did. And he had to face some tough lefties in there.
Yeah, and I mean, you're really just throwing them in there against some really good pitchers, but at the same time, you're in the big leagues, they're all good pitchers, right? He looked overmatched, and like you said, there was a there was a sense that pitchers were adapting to him.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Tory Lovullo today talked a little bit about how Dominic Fletcher wasn't doing damage on the pitches in the zone. It wasn't as much pitch selection as it was just trying to, hit that pitch that you're looking for. We do have a clip of Torey Lovullo talking about what he called a very difficult decision to send down Dominic Fletcher and bring up Jake McCarthy.
Yeah, we talked to Jake when he got sent out about making some quality adjustments, getting back to a little bit of a finished swing and impact the baseball. And his game was starting to show those results. It's not that we need to be true to our word and say when you do and if you do, this will happen. That wasn't really the circumstance. This is more about getting Jake back to where we feel like he's going to help us win baseball games. Not that Fletch couldn't. This was a tough call. It was a conversation that we had. Like let's get him here and see where it's at. And we know that he can impact games when he's playing at the level that we feel like he's ready to play at. He hit third for us for most of the year last year, so we know he can impact baseball games on both sides of the ball. And ultimately it means that we're a good baseball team. We got to send down a player like Dominic Fletcher. We're a good organization, When you send down a player like Dominic Fletcher, who's helped us win a lot of games, I know where his average is hovering. I know what he's been doing on the field. Means that we've got some depth that we want to take a look at, and we can change these parts up, and it's part of the game.
We have some depth. That's an understatement, right? When it comes to left-handed hitting outfielders, the Diamondbacks have entirely too much depth.
There are a few of them.
There's a few. But yeah, I can understand where the D-backs are coming from. Elise asked an interesting question: why send down Dominic Fletcher instead of Pavin Smith? We have Emmanuel Rivera as a backup first baseman. That's fair. The D-backs don't need Pavin for that. Understandable. Definitely see where you're coming from. Dominic Fletcher definitely provides more defensive value than Pavin Smith does. You're not going to put Pavin Smith in center field unless it's like an emergency situation. So
unless it's 2021, baby.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Everyone was a center fielder in 2021.
You guys have a lot more connections to the team, so I know you can't say this, so I'll just go out and say it. Pavin Smith has something on Tory Lovullo.
Oh my gosh.
There's something that he has on him. I don't know what it is. I haven't put my finger on it yet, but there's something there.
The Diamondbacks definitely like Pavin Smith. I think Mike Hazen likes Pavin Smith. He talked during the winter meetings about just that he thinks he can really hit. D-backs think there's some untapped potential there offensively. And you do sort of see it in spurts. Like Pavin Smith does have pretty good at bats most of the time. He has a really good understanding of the strike zone. When push comes to shove, it just seems like he doesn't do quite enough damage to the baseball. Even if he's not striking out a ton, even if he's drawing his walks, it's hard to have a guy who's only a first baseman / corner outfielder who only slugs like 375 or 400. You just don't really have many of those players in this league. But yeah, the D-backs certainly think that they have something there. And I mean, we have another outfielder on the horizon as well in Kyle Lewis, who is working his way back from injury. The D-backs might have to make a decision with Pavin Smith pretty soon here as well if he's not able to get things going offensively. Torey also talked about the concept of kind of riding the hot hand when it comes to these young outfielders, that, you know, if someone is killing it down in Reno, get them up here. And if someone is really struggling in the big league, send them down. They all have options. The D-backs have the ability to do that if they want to. But there is this element where it feels a little strange, right? That's not something you see teams do a whole lot of. You want to get guys at bats. You want to get them comfortable on the big league level. Maybe you could make a case it's a little hard to do that if guys are being shuttled back and forth from Reno all the time.
Dang, beat me to it. I was about to say that. Is Pavin Smith the D-backs answer to Landry Shamet?
Oh my gosh. I think Pavin Smith has been better in 2023 than Landry Shamet was in the playoffs for the Suns, or in the entire season. Like, Landry Shamet was one of the worst players in all of the NBA as far as I'm concerned. Pavin Smith, not great, but he's walked a decent amount. I think he's at least been reasonably productive. But there is I do understand the connection. I mean, it's felt like the Suns were playing Landry Shamet for no reason, and I know some people kind of feel that way about Pavin Smith right now.
And this again, and I don't want to keep repeating myself, but I feel like this is another eye test thing, not for me, but for the front office and the coaching staff, right?
Sure.
You look at Pavin Smith, and you see the guy that you drafted in the first round, right? 7th overall.
Yeah.
You see the potential there, and you just kind of throw him out there and hope something happens. At some point, you just gotta understand that ain't happening.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, he's a former first round pick, but it was like 5 years ago now, and the Diamondbacks clearly have not let go that Pavin Smith is not going to be the player that they want him to be. And frankly, the draft that Pavin Smith was part of, I believe 2018, was not a very strong draft. So it wasn't like, oh, there's these 15 other players, 2017, thank you, that Pavin Smith should have, or that the D-backs should have taken instead of him. It was a, you know, you could definitely cherry pick a couple of them.
Yeah, it's not AJ Pollock and
yeah, we looked it up, and there was like legit like 4 players that might be better than Pavin Smith in the whole like first 2 rounds.
Trevor Rogers is in there. I believe that's also the year the D-backs took Dalton Varsho. He's one of the best players.
Mackenzie Gore.
Yeah, Hunter Green. Hunter Green had an outstanding game, by the way, today.
Joe Adell. Joe Adell. I mean, Joe Adell, he feels like a quadruple A-er to me. But
yeah. Joe Adell is
pretty weak draft, huh?
It really was. So
Stuart Fairchild, former D-back great.
Former D-back great. There you go. So I don't know. I don't really. It wasn't necessarily a terrible draft pick, but it does feel like the D-backs have other options that are better. And Pavin Smith did have a really strong start to the year, so you understand why they've kept him in the big leagues for a while, even though some of those numbers have faded down the stretch. Of course, there's also another outfielder in Reno who's really killing it right now, who also happens to bat left-handed, and that's Dominic Canzone, who now has an OPS over 1,000, and his strikeout rate and walk rate are both excellent. He's hit quite a few ground balls down there, which is a little odd, but overall the numbers look really good for Canzone. As far as Jake McCarthy is concerned, we talked to him in the clubhouse before the game today. Looking back on just kind of where he's been this season and what he was trying to work on, he talked a lot about just trying to kind of slow things down at the plate, that he was getting a little bit antsy early in the season, that he just didn't really have the approach that he was hoping to have, just kind of trying to get in there and wait for his pitch and do damage on that pitch rather than having a bunch of defensive swings, which is kind of what it felt like he was doing at the beginning of the season. McCarthy did not have a hit in his first game in the lineup, but granted, Danielle, Chris Sale is not exactly a soft landing if you're a left-handed hitter.
Yeah. Get called up that day. Hey, one of the best lefties of a generation. Go get him, kid.
Yeah, that's rough.
Tough at bat. And you said it. He looked to be in his own head for sure. There was a lot of I don't want to say pressure, but it kind of was a little bit of pressure, especially after the D-backs dealt David Peralta.
Yeah.
That this was the new guy. He was going to be the new energy guy. He's the new next David Peralta. And it looked like he kind of got in his own head earlier this season. He was definitely rushing at the plate, rushing in the field. Rushing today, he had a throw that maybe cost the D-backs an early run, but in the grand scheme of things, it wouldn't have mattered, right?
No.
So getting him comfortable, I think, is the biggest thing, because at the end of the day, you want Jake McCarthy on your team. Jake McCarthy is the guy who's going to win you baseball games. He did earlier in the season with his drag bunt.
Yeah, that's true.
He does the little things that win good baseball teams games. So getting him right was always the end goal. So
yeah,
who they sent down was kind of.
I don't want to say
it's irrelevant, but it kind of is, because at some point Kyle Lewis is going to get called back up. He's going to be back up. So you're going to lose Dom Fletcher. You're going to lose Pavin Smith. It's just kind of, in what order do you lose them?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, and to I forgot who it was. I can't find it, but Dalton Varsho, 214.
Oh yeah, someone wanted
7
to know.
home runs.
214, 653 OPS.
Not great.
There's your daily Dalton Varsho update.
Not great.
Everyone always needs that. If Pavin gets sent down, I do think that Emmanuel Rivera would probably be the backup first baseman they could get by there. It is tough. The D-backs just have too many left-handed hitting outfielders, as we've been saying for a while. And come the trade deadline, that could be an asset for them. It's honestly funny. The D-backs traded away.
Get a starter.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we're gonna have those conversations. But yeah, I mean, you traded away Dalton Varsho, but you did also bring back an outfielder. I mean, Lourdes Gurriel has been an everyday outfielder for the D-backs, so you didn't
a right-handed outfielder.
Yeah, a right-handed hitting outfielder, which is helpful, but still an outfielder.
Forgot those existed.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it didn't exactly help unclog the depth chart as far as outfielders are concerned, though.